Just a few years ago, I would not have been allowed to visit the city of Medina. This is Saudi Arabia's fourth largest city, and it's considered an immensely important site in the religion of Islam. But I was interested to see what it's like for a non-Muslim person to visit this city. So I've just made it over here to the city of Medina via high-speed rail from Jeddah. I got to travel in the business class cabin, and it was a pretty nice experience. But upon arriving to Medina's train station, the first thing I needed was a ride over to the area of the city where my hotel was.
How are you?
Good, how are you? After many silent car rides in Saudi Arabia, this driver was a little bit more talkative, even despite the fact that I'm very limited when it comes to Arabic, and he was very limited when it came to English.
بشوية.
Okay, understand. The hotel I'd booked was in the outskirts of town, about a 30-minute walk away, but we'll take more of a look at the hotel later in this video. But upon arriving to the hotel I'd booked, I quickly left my bag and headed out into the street, making my way towards the central part of Medina, the haram. Outside of the center of Medina, basically you could say cars are king, and everywhere is not necessarily all that walkable. But as I made my way into the center of Medina, the scenery really changed quickly. So over here in Medina, by far, the biggest attraction in the city is right behind me, the Prophet's Mosque. This massive mosque gets its name from the Islamic prophet Muhammad, who is said to have overseen the original building's construction over 1,400 years ago. As you can see, it's extremely ornate, and the Islamic prophet Muhammad is actually said to be, or believed to be, buried there himself. To my knowledge, in terms of holiness, this place is only second to the city of Mecca. But for me, as someone who is not a Muslim, I'm not allowed to enter there. In fact, if we would go back just 3 years ago, well, now it's 4 years because it's January 2nd, to 2021, non-Muslims were not allowed to enter the city of Medina at all. But they actually changed the rule, so now I can come here. I just can't go in the mosque. The place does look pretty packed anyway. But everywhere else here in Medina is completely fair game to me. And I've heard that pilgrims like to go to a specific restaurant after visiting the mosque. So I'm gonna go check that out. It's called Zaytun Restaurant. And supposedly it's in this bustling shopping mall. And this shopping mall is literally brim to brim next door to the mosque. This is not what I would have expected next to such a holy place. Okay. It's a pretty shopping mall though, I've got to say. And here we are at the lovely and apparently quite famous, 20,000 reviews on Google, Zaytun Restaurant. The menu looks like a combination of different cuisines, to be honest. There's definitely some like Pakistani, Bangladeshi influence, some Arabic food for sure, and European American stuff like burgers and pizzas. You just get the menu from the person that ordered in line before you and see what you want, and then go sit down over there or over there. Okay, so 2 chicken shawarma, 2 avocado juice, and what's the best biryani? Chicken, beef? Okay. Maybe beef. Okay. That's it, yeah.
95.
For here. It's really a huge seating area over here. You can just sit wherever you like. Number 24, 23. Okay. 2. Ah, perfect. Where? For 3. Sit there. No problem. Shukran. I've got a lovely seat right next to the massive kitchen. Do be warned that they do not like clean the seats here or anything like that. You could call it an authentic experience if you wanted, I suppose. But everything's covered in plastic and they just tell you to put the tissues on the seat if you so desire. But despite looking extremely busy, it's all very streamlined here. You place your order, you find your seat, and then you give the ticket to the guy who's in charge of telling your order to the kitchen. And the most important part of the process, you put the hand sanitizer on your hands. And that's a nice size biryani for a little bit under, equivalent to $10 US, 35 SAR. So this dish is like all over the Gulf really, but you know, Pakistani, Indian, Bangladeshi, it's kind of all that. Thank you. Thanks so much. Okay, this dish knows no borders. And some yogurt with, I think it's with like, with mint and maybe coriander. Thank you so much. And some cucumber and onion. That's spicy. And you get the choice of chicken or beef. Since I got chicken shawarma, beef is a nice mix, I think, and it's really, really good. And then a little bit of a suspiciously green avocado juice. But it's pretty good. If you've seen any other video that I filmed in the Gulf, there's probably avocado juice in it too because it's one of Earth's greatest drinks. I don't know why they don't drink this everywhere in the world. So good. And let's give something a little bit more classic Arabic a try. Chicken shawarma. This shawarma has a really solid flavor. It's quite milky. Sometimes shawarma is more milky, sometimes there's no dairy in it, but sometimes it's a lot less milky. This one's, it's almost like as if you're eating shawarma with coleslaw. There's also like carrots in there and a few other like cabbage-like vegetables. I'm not 100% sure. But overall, the taste is nice. Lightly spiced. But definitely don't come up here thinking that this shawarma is going to be a whole full meal like I did. You need some rice too or something else. It's small. And over 20,000 Google reviews, right? You've got to wonder how. Well, they come by your table after you've eaten and they give you a QR code to scan to leave a review. Probably a smart business strategy though. Well, I don't know. The food was awesome here. What can I say? And they randomly do the most beautiful soft serve ice cream here. So thick. Definitely do save room for the mango ice cream. But they do skimp a little bit on the inside. And yeah, the meal was 95 rial, so a little bit more than $20. But then the ice cream was an additional 10 rial, bringing it up to a total of 105 rial. 5 rial more than I want to pay because I had 5 rial in cash and 200 rial in cash, and now I need to break my 200. But what I'm really wondering is why they decided to name this restaurant after an olive. Zaytun means olive in Arabic.
But in full transparency, I did return to Zaytun for a second meal during my stay in Medina. That time though, there did happen to be a worm living in a tomato that I was served. Did that mean an extra dose of protein for free or an unacceptable dining experience? I'll let you decide.
And as I was leaving the restaurant, it seemed like absolutely everybody, they kind of just got up and left pretty quick. This is why. It's prayer time. But all of that aside, there's this little sliver of a moon today, and it's just one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in front of this massive mosque. So that certainly was a very nice way to spend my first late afternoon here. But tomorrow, I think I'm gonna go a little further, a little outside beyond the city limits here, and see what else they've got in Medina.
Now, when it came to finding a place to stay in Medina, prices were pretty much high all over the place. So in an attempt to try to find some kind of compromise between my budget and comfort, I paid a bit over $100 a night for a room at a place called Al Marzum Hotel.
This is the second hotel that I'm staying at over here in Saudi Arabia. This one is a local hotel. The last one was owned by Accor. It was an Adagio apartment hotel. But this one, this is like really the Saudi Arabian vibe, I think. Upon checking in, you could kind of get the sense that you're in a more religious city just because like there was Quranic recitation going on at the check-in counter instead of music. So that's a vibe already. But then let's see what they've got over in this room. Some water bottles. You basically can't drink the tap water, at least without like boiling it. And then it's still not really that recommendable in Saudi Arabia. So water bottles I think are pretty standard. It seems that at least the chain hotel I was staying in will just give you as much water as you need. So yeah, I don't know how they'll do it here. Maybe it's limited to just 2 bottles. Oi, salam alaikum. Okay. Passport.
From America?
Yeah, USA, yeah.
Okay.
Where are you from?
I come from Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, okay, nice. Dhaka?
Dhaka.
Shukran. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, bye. But yeah, other than that, and this is just kind of a standard hotel room over in this part, but Here you do have, it looks like a microwave or microwave oven. Yeah, microwave, I guess. And then a lot of cabinet space. It's not exactly an apartment hotel, but you could definitely eat a meal in here or something and probably prepare it a little bit. And then there's this bathroom. One interesting thing about it that kind of is common over in the Gulf, especially at more like locally run places or older buildings in general, I think, you've got to turn on and off the water heater when you want to take a shower. So it's very good to know that. And it's also nice that it says in English water heater, because I was staying at a place in Oman and it just didn't say anything on the switch. I was trying to take a shower and it wasn't working.
One unfortunate thing that must be mentioned though is the fact that despite asking repeatedly, I was not able to get any toilet paper replacements.
But other than that, you've got some basic amenities, and that's what this local hotel, Al Marzam, over here in Medina looks like. Now, when it comes to places over here in Medina that any human being is allowed to visit, the word Quba comes into play. But not in the sense of the Caribbean island that's about 90 miles away from Key West. No, here, Quba is referring to a whole area of the city, really. But more than anything, it's referring to this massive mosque, which is the first ever mosque in Islam. Yes, you guessed it, it's called the Quba Mosque, or Masjid Quba. So the Quba Mosque is also said to have been built, just like the one we saw yesterday, by the Islamic prophet Muhammad. And since I'm actually allowed to go in here, let's go check it out and see what it looks like on the inside. Or should I probably start my day over at the Guidance Center for Lost People? Just kidding. Woman here, man where? Okay, man this way. So where do we meet after? Here. Okay. So I'll meet you after, I guess. Yeah. Okay, shukran. So first up, just like all mosques, you gotta take the shoes off. Shoes are off, and I'm in. I could have just left them in here, I guess. Now, I'm really no expert in this religion, but I guess over here is like the ablution area, and this is for praying. But what a beautiful building. And the center is actually outside, so you just got something protecting you from rain or debris here. Lots of birds flying around. And you can see here is kind of the center of the mosque. And way back in the end is this little, I guess you call it an alcove. That's where the imam recites prayers. And it's facing directly towards Mecca, just like in every mosque. At least I assume so. But it really is an interesting building to visit over here. And again, there's another outside area over here. So sunny. This place is like 600 meters in altitude and kind of a flat city, kind of like a plateau. You could probably compare it to like Denver, Colorado, or Madrid in Spain. It's got that same feeling where it gets pretty cold in the night. Basically a desert. But the sun really is strong just due to the altitude, I guess, and the topography of the place. But anyway, on the other side of the mosque here, you've got another, I guess this is like extended outdoor prayer area or something, or maybe just resting and hanging out area. Not 100% sure what they use it for. But overall in this place, there's space for many thousands of people. And it's a little bit different than other Islamic countries I've been to, because I've always been kind of taken in by like some kind of free guide or someone who's interested in telling me about the mosque and their religion, of course. Here they don't seem to have that, at least I haven't found it. And this gets really interesting. I've never seen this in any kind of religious institution. There is a questionnaire on if you're happy with your experience or not. And coming over here out back, behind where the main entrance is to the mosque, or at least the entrance that I entered in, you get a pretty good idea of how the outside of the mosque looks. It's pretty. And it's a really nice contrast today with the completely blue sky, the white building, and the darker ground. But to me, what's really most impressive over here are the natural surroundings that you can find all throughout the city of Medina. You've got mountain peaks to be seen, little oases, and it's very beautiful. There is a bit of a dust issue and pollution in the air, low air quality issue today, but you can still see all of the great surroundings. Oh yeah, and if you're ever looking for a toilet in public in Saudi Arabia, just go to a mosque because they all have lots of toilets. And they're probably cleaner than the ones that you find in public in other places, to be honest. And lastly, as you've seen, in some Islamic countries, they don't really like enforce this rule, or they make an exception for tourists that aren't practicing the religion. But here they're very, very strict about women only go into the women's section, which means you don't actually get to see much apparently. And then men get to go into the men's section, which was over there, which is what I showed you.
But just right after I walked out of the mosque, I bumped into a nice little shop next door.
I suppose you could say this shop kind of has like everything that identifies is to do with Arabic culture in terms of like food, spices, and also smells. But for me, there was one exciting find over here. They do sell green coffee, which isn't necessarily that easy to find other than going on a website in many countries. Green? Okay.
Sad.
Sub.
Khamid.
Mix. Lower quality. Okay, I understand.
1 kilo.
How much?
12
Hamsa?
7.
7? 70. Okay. And sim? Oh,
Sim.
70.
70.
Okay, shukran.
They've got a pretty extensive nut section too.
This is the biggest date I've ever seen. And it is just a nice experience to walk through any shop in the Middle East, really, just because it smells so good from all the different spices and all of that stuff. And there certainly are nice views all around. But again, I've been surprised by the amount of shopping opportunities next to this holy site. There are like coffee shops, a ton of different stores here, and a lot more. Even a restaurant that looked quite good but is closed for the next few hours. There's even the king of Kanafa. But as I go around here, it seems that nearly every place, except for this juice place, is currently closed. Two avocado juice, please. Sorry, how much was that? Okay. But with the sun nice and shining like this, I thought I'd take a little walk down Quba Avenue over to the same name, Quba Fortress. So I don't know the history of that place yet, but as I go along the way, this is really, I guess, prime real estate here in Medina, but there's a lot of like abandoned fields, abandoned property in general. Oh yeah, and you could take this free shuttle if you wanted, but I thought I'd just have a nice walk in the sun. But just beyond all of these abandoned lots here, you've got the Quba Fortress. I'm really not figuring out how to visit this place. I mean, let's see. So far, I just see that there's a lot of barbed wire blocking anybody from entering, but maybe on the other side. Well, okay, at this point, it's pretty clear that whoever's in charge does not want you going in this fort, at least right now. Maybe there's some kind of work being done on it or something, but from what I can tell, it hasn't been open for quite a while. But I was able to gather that it's a fort that was built during the Ottoman period. I guess I'll have to see what else I can find around here. And that Quba Avenue is quite the interesting walking street. There's lots of businesses on the way and many mosques and stuff like that as well. But as you keep going up Quba Avenue, you get back to the area where the Prophet's Mosque is. You can see it's just so many people around here. I suppose visiting all year round, but I think there are certain times of the year where Umrah is more popular. And then there's, of course, just one season for Hajj, but I guess that's to Mecca. Not really sure how Medina is involved in all that, but it's also a good chance to just take a look around and see what the standards are here for dress. Because I'm a little bit out of costume. In fact, dressing in the Western way that I'm dressed isn't so common here, but for males it seems to be more or less acceptable. It's kind of a thing to actually cover up your arms as well as your legs, even though it's almost shorts weather here. And I've seen maybe 2 women in the 2 days that I've been here not wearing at least the basic hijab like my wife's got set up here. So, like it, hate it, doesn't really matter. That seems to be the cultural norm over here. I suppose that's not really like a surprising thing to realize, just considering that this is the second holiest city in a religion, and that religion, at least a lot of sects of that religion, call on people to cover themselves up to a very lengthy extent, let's say. But it certainly does come in contrast to the city I was in before this, Jeddah, which was a place where you could see people dressing in, I guess we could just call it the Western standard, although it's not only in the West, you know, covering themselves up less, all over the place. Much more normal over in Jeddah than in Medina. And I'd assume, though I can't visit, that in Mecca, that's true even to a further extent, probably. But although I didn't set out today with any kind of pilgrimage in mind or anything like that, this has been a nice walk. And arriving to this really massive, massive mosque in the square in front of it does feel sort of akin to the feelings that I've had completing other pilgrimages. For example, the Camino de Santiago, as well as a shorter one-day pilgrimage I made over on the island of Shikoku in Japan. All in different parts of the world, all having to do with, well, sort of different traditions, but also all human activities that people participate in together. And one thing here is for sure, today everybody's been walking quite a lot.
But as for my experience over here in Medina, sure, there might have been a setback or two along the way. But more than anything, during the few days I spent in Medina, I met welcoming people, witnessed long traditions, and got to know a city that just is really like no other.